Okay.
Hello. No. Take some space too. We are back.
Okay.
This is Josie the Thinker.
Sephathechamp.
Yes.
Okay. So welcome back to our channel. So what are we going to be doing today?
So we're gonna do chapter 2 and moving forward. So this is gonna be like a longer video. So we're really trying to like dissect each chapter and basically talk about what we're reading and how that translate into the modern society that we live in today.
We're still on the will to change.
The will to change, yes.
So we're gonna just be doing chapter by chapter. We might create like a playlist and do each video.
Yeah.
Each video a chapter, and then put it in one playlist.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought we were doing like one video and then time stamping.
We're gonna be here for a very long time, because if we're doing one long video, we have like 10 chapters. So depending on how long we like, if we're like spending an hour a chapter, that's 10 hours.
Okay, that's fine.
So
yeah. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Okay. So chapter 2 is understanding patriarchy.
That's very important.
Yes. And I'm glad Belle like introduced the patriarchy, because like the patriarchy is the foundation of like white supremacy and basically all of the other isms under that. So yeah. So basically chapter 2 began to talk about setting the premise and the beginnings of patriarchy when it comes to
men. Didn't really talk about the beginning of patriarchy, just that patriarchy is relatively not new, but like it's relatively a newer word that we casually use in our everyday language, because most people know what sexism is, right? Sexism, misogyny, and all that. But not many people know what patriarchy is, because it wasn't in the everyday language that people use, next to misogyny and patriarchy. But I like how she defines patriarchy. She says, I often use the phrase imperialistic white supremacist capitalistic patriarchy.
Ooh.
I mean,
yeah.
To describe the interlocking political systems that are the foundation of our nation's politics. So this is basically, patriarchy is basically a system of governance where the male is in charge of the political, educational, agricultural, everyday life of men and women and children. So it is the men that put themselves there and make the decision that affects literally everybody else.
I will go ahead and say that women gave them the power to sit up there. I don't think men just sat up there. I think that women were coerced to give up their power in order to seem like men are in charge, but it's actually the women.
Yeah, because right? The notion of like, well, men are natural leaders, which is, there's absolutely nothing natural about patriarchy. Patriarchy has an inception, right? Patriarchy is a social construct that, and I'm gonna pause right here. After this book, we're gonna read The Creation of Patriarchy by Greta Lerner, and that is literally one of my favorite books.
Yeah, I'm excited to read that book too.
Yeah, like, so we're really, really gonna like get into the root of how this system of oppression really started, and why it's taking us so long to first recognize, the history behind it, and the system of oppression behind men, women, and children, and how we are just now literally scratching the surface of fully understanding it. Because again, according to Bell Hooks, patriarchy as a word is not a common used word that we use every single day.
Yeah.
People are aware of misogyny, sexism, but not the word patriarchy as a fundamental systematic issue that encapsulate everything else.
Yeah. Another thing that Bell Hook mentioned, she said that patriarchy is a political social system that insists that males are inherently dominating, superior to everything, and everyone deemed weaker, especially females, and endowed with the right to dominate, right rule over the weak, and to maintain that dominance through various forms of psychological terrorism and violence.
Mm, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I think she said it best of like basically fitting everything in one sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in a system of patriarchy, you will always have a group of people that think that they are justified in dominating a weaker group of people, right?
Yeah.
And those group of people are severely gendered groups.
Yeah.
So you have the gendered male that believe that is their natural right to be the natural leaders. But can I just say this though? Just because you think that you have the natural right to be a leader, that does not necessarily mean that you have to dominate. Leaders lead. Leaders don't dominate. Leaders make great followers. So for you to be a great leader, you have to follow. But you claim, well, the male species claim that, well, it is our right to take our place as the patriarch because it is our natural born right, it is our God-given right to lead, but you're not actually lead, like you're conflating leadership with domination, with dominating. Sorry. Yeah. And those are not two of the exclusive. Those are not
mutually exclusive.
Yeah, mutually exclusive. Mm-hmm. It's not the same thing.
Yep.
So you can be a leader without dominating, but there's always this type of underlying domineering aspects to leadership that is literally patriarchy. That's what that is. Mm-hmm. And then Bell Hooks went and talked about how this patriarchal type thing was presented to her by her father, and how her brother and her are closer in age. But she thought that the way that her brother was treated was severely different from how she was treated as a young girl. Mm-hmm. And she goes and tell us the story about how, as a daughter, I was taught to be weak. I was taught to be meek. I was taught to serve my brother and all that. And my brother he was taught that his role is to be served. So his role is to take from the women around him, from his sisters and all that. And her role is just to give. Yeah. So again, this like, just this give and take of, just this give and take doesn't really help anybody grow.
I would actually go ahead and say the people that give are the leaders, right? Oh. Because as leader, you're supposed to give your time, you're supposed to give your energy. So that's why I feel like if the women are set to give, they are the leaders of society, not the ones that are taking.
Yeah, because right? The value rests on those that give. Because if I'm taking something from you, then that means that there's something of value that you have that I want. Yeah. So, and I want what you have because I lack that. I'm without that.
Or I'm incapable of getting it on my own. Ooh. Or it's the easiest for you to give me, or I can teach you to give up your right to give it to me. Mm-hmm. So there's different ways to get from something that is valuable because, you're incompetent, you don't want to do it, you're lazy, or you have this inflated ego that you think it belongs to you anyway. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to read this quote. She says, "My brother was taught that it was his role to be served, to provide, to be strong, to think, strategize, and plan, and to refuse to caretake or nurture others. I was taught that it was not proper for a female to be violent, that it was unnatural." So she also said that, like, growing up, she was much more, like, rougher than her other sisters. But growing up in a patriarchal household, her father would just be like, "Hey, this is not acceptable. You need to be put in your place. You can't do that here." And she went on and tell another story. Let me see if about how her and her brother were playing with like a toy or something, and then let me see if I can find it. Okay, So one evening, my brother was given permission by dad to bring out the tin marble. I announced my desire to play and was told by my brother that, quote, girls did not play with marbles, unquote, that it was a boys' game. This made no sense to my 4-year or 5-year-old mind, and I insisted on my right to play by picking up marbles and shooting them. Dad intervened to tell me to stop. I did not listen. His voice grew louder and louder, and then suddenly he snatched me up, broke a board from our screen door, and began to beat me with it, telling me, "You're just a little girl. When I tell you to do something, I mean it. I mean for you to do it." End quote. He beat me, and he beat me, wanting me to acknowledge that I understood what I had done. His rage, his violence captured everyone's attention. Our family sat spellbound, wrapped before the pornography of patriarchal violence. I thought that was very interesting.
That was very interesting. Pornography of patriarchal violence.
Let's just think about that for a moment. So your father is beating you, and you're 4 or 5 years old, in front of everybody.
Yeah.
That first lets me know that he's obviously asserting his dominance over this little girl.
Yeah.
He's asserting his dominance, his power, his, and the fact that he's dominating her in front of everyone. Like, and then when she said, like, the family just sat there and witnessed this pornography of patriarchal violence.
Yeah, that is a really strong, like, wording that she put.
Yeah. She has a tendency to do that, of, like, she'll say something, she'll describe something, and then leave you with, like a
gut punch.
Like a punch of, like, ooh, like, wow, like,
I would have never put, like, those two in one sentence.
Yeah, because if you think about, like, pornography, which she also calls patriarchal pornography.
Yeah, she does.
Pornography of patriarchal violence. And if you really think about it, pornography is very violent.
In its nature.
Yeah. It's very invasive.
Yeah.
It's in your face.
It is patriarchy.
Yeah.
It is.
Is the... We're gonna get to sexuality the chapter 5. That's a good chapter.
But one thing I wanted to add to this is that, so moving forward, so the book says, our family sat spellbound, wrapped before the pornography of patriarchal violence. After this beating, I was forced to stay alone in the dark. Mama came into the bedroom to soothe the pain, telling me in her soft southern voice, I tried to warn you. You need to accept that you are just a little girl, and girls can't do what boys do. End quote. In service of patriarchy, her task was to enforce that dad had done the right thing by putting me in my place, by restoring the natural social order. That is very, very powerful. We know there's a lot of women, mothers, women in society in general that reinforce the patriarchy, reinforce the pecking order, reinforce the sexist notion that, okay, girls are meant to do this and boys are meant to do this. And she saw this at 4 years old, right? She saw this at 4 years old. Like, even in our family too, we see that all the time. But it's crazy that your husband is beating your little girl, and there's no
4 years old.
Yeah, like, and there's no motherly instincts to, like, step in and just stop, but just watch. That means that even with her, even with the mom, she has been just so brainwashed that this is the right thing to do.
Yeah, but I don't want to be like women. Some women do choose this. Let's be for real, because they believe in the ideology that the patriarchy is going to get them what they want, right? And that is proximity to a male, proximity to men, and men is power, right? So if I can get love, I'm gonna get power. But it's like a gotcha. Like, yeah, you spent 10, 20, 15 years in this for this proximity of power when you yourself are powerful by yourself, but you're giving your power away to a man.
Well, you also have to put in perspective of the time, right?
I mean, okay.
Yeah, her parents are what, like probably in like the 1940s, 1950s, right? She's a black woman in, a white dominant society, so the times didn't really catch up to her, right? But what I know that women in like the boomer era, like what they did is that don't get married, right? They were telling their kids like, to have their own bank accounts, but it doesn't seem like she
was
doing that. Yeah, she was a housewife, so she was not educated like that. She didn't have any higher education. She valued the patriarchy to the extent of putting her life on the line and putting her kids' life on the line as well.
I don't think she put her life on the line. If we're really looking at the story,
I think she did, in the sense that she did not receive what the patriarchy promised her, which is love.
Okay, yes, right? Yes, but like, imagine because I work with kids, right? Imagine you're 4 years old and getting the shit beat out of you by your father while your family just sits there and watch.
It's very demoralizing.
That's traumatic.
Yeah.
And then she's in her room crying or whatever, and you're like, I tried to warn you. If you would just listen. So it's almost like you're putting the blame on her, as if like you just don't get it. Like, if you can just listen and follow the natural order of things, this would have not happened.
Yeah.
And but it's like you're not even holding accountable your patriarchal husband for this. Wait, for displaying this act of pornographical. What did she say? Pornography or patriarchal violence in display for everyone. So I think that like patriarchy teaches you to not be empathetic.
Ooh.
That's literally what I'm trying to say in the grand scheme of things.
I see what you're trying to say.
It teaches you to sever your emotional receptors so that when you see violence enacted on somebody that is smaller than you,
that's like
you're just a bystander.
Yeah.
Ooh. Because think about it. Mothers will do anything to protect their cubs.
Yes.
Mothers will like literally
fucking climb mountains,
move mountains,
children. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
And for you to
don't get me started on the boy moms. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
The boy moms go hard, 10 toes down. Okay.
And like, and for you to just like sit there, and just be a witness of this pornography of patriarchal violence like that, and then go soothe her wounds, by just saying, and then by still affirming that,
that you shouldn't have done that. It was your fault.
You should have just listened. You should have just listened. I tried to warn you.
Yeah, it diminishes your empathy little by little
until you have nothing left.
Yeah, which is understandable as why men don't have empathy. Right. In the patriarchy, you can't have empathy because when you have empathy, you are more human. You are more aware of your emotions, right? So patriarchy is that you should not be aware of your emotions. You should not be. You should only use violence, rage, domination. You should use those negative attributes to respond. So that's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else? Do you have anything to add to that?
Not necessarily that, but I do want to move on to a particular passage.
Okay.
One thing I felt like Bell Hooks didn't do a good job at is connecting religion into patriarchy. She did mention, like the Dalai Lama, as we further into the topic. She did mention this instance where she was at a church where
that's not in this chapter.
I know, but I'm just trying to like reiterate that it wasn't. That's one thing I felt like it wasn't
generally
covered.
Speaking?
Yeah,
okay.
Generally speaking. Damn, where is this passage that I really wanted to like? Okay, let me just
start. The one with the Dalai Lama?
No. In chapter 2.
Okay.
So in chapter 2, she also went on to talk about how feminism didn't really do a great job at inviting men on a topic of, feminism, right? So y'all know Bell Hooks is a feminist. She also critiques feminism. She also critiques she critiques everybody, right? So it wasn't limited to, okay, I'm a feminist, so I'm not going to critique feminism. Like, she actually went hard on feminism when in her other books. But in this book, when as it pertains to men, she basically said that feminism did not do a good job at inviting men, because within the feminist movement, women are afraid, scared, and they were angry at men for the things that men has done unto them. Which is why when women started the feminist movement, it was really hard for the women to hear men out that, hey, we are actually struggling. Can you help us? The feminists are like, yeah, I'm so sorry, but we're trying to separate from you. It doesn't make sense to invite you into our circle again and perpetuate the same cycle of, whatever, right? So this is a passage that I really wanted to read. Okay. Indeed, radical feminist critique of patriarchy has practically been silenced in our culture. It has been a subculture, this discourse available only to well-educated elites. Even in those circles, using the word patriarchy is regarded as passé. Often in my lecture, when I use the phrase imperialist white supremacist capitalistic patriarchy to describe our national social system, audience laugh. No one has ever explained why accurately naming the system is funny. The laughter is itself a weapon of patriarchal terrorism. It functions as a disclaimer, discounting the significance of what is being named. It suggests that the words themselves are problematic and not the system they describe. I interpret this laughter as an audience way of showing discomfort, being asked to ally themselves with the anti-patriarchal disobedient critique. This laugh reminds me that if I dare to challenge patriarchy openly, I risk not being taken seriously. And I put wow, because she said imperialist white supremacist capitalistic patriarchy. That is very, very, very specific.
Yeah.
Right?
And layered.
Very layered too. So we know the first layer is imperialist, right? We know that all around the globe, imperialism has been what?
So if for those of you who don't know what imperialism is, it's basically when colonizers leave a particular country, they don't technically leave it. It's still under its ruling.
Because
let's take Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is, and I don't even think it's within my opinion or anything like that. It is a territory, right? It's not a state. Not really. It should be, but it really isn't. So that is an imperialist territory where it is still under the ruling and control of America. So states like literally any other state. So it basically means that there's still a colonial rule
and influence
of that.
Politically,
yes.
Yeah.
And then imperialist white supremacist. So a white supremacist is basically someone who views their whiteness and their race as the superior race, which is the Aryan race, superior race over any other race.
Yeah. And then capitalists, we live in a capitalistic society.
Yeah, right? Big businesses that, mass produce products and create a huge gap of financial inequality between the rich and the poor. And then you have patriarchy, which is, again, you have imperialists, which are usually white people that are ruling, right? A country or whatever. White supremacists, these white people believe that their whiteness is superior above anything else, so it needs to be protected at all costs.
Yeah.
Capitalists,
that's money
over people, right? So you have a group of white people that love and will protect their race,
put money
over people, their guns and all that, and
what cements the patriarchy
is that they're patriarchs.
That's powerful.
That's literally Who, guys, put it in the chat. Who do you think this is? What day is it?
Today
we are in January
13th.
We are in January 13th. I need you to put it in the chat who you think this one person is. If you know, you know. It's 2025. If you know, you know.
Okay.
Who the imperialistic, white supremacist, capitalistic patriarchy is.
That's funny as shit. No, but what she said is that the thing I really love about Bell Hooks is she put a name to everything.
Oh my god,
that is one
she's
thing
really
I
good at that.
love. Yes. Right? She talked about the
what she said.
Pornographic patriarchal violence.
I'm like, bro,
what?
That's genius. Pornography and
and then imperialist white supremacist capitalistic patriarchy. What?
Now I don't know if she founded these like
words,
these
but
things,
she put a name to them, and then she says that when she is having a lecture, when she is going to these seminars, and she is naming these things, she is saying the audience is laughing at her. Or the audience is laughing at this, like,
with the lack of knowledge.
With the lack of knowledge, right? You know how, like, you talk to somebody you don't know, and then you're just like, oh my god, that's so fucking crazy. But like you don't, but you don't really comprehend what is being said and what is being like,
because it's loaded.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Like,
it's a lot
I literally
of layers.
had to break down white supremacist, capitalistic, all that, because it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot to take in, really. Yeah. It's a lot to take in like 1 or 2 lectures.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, this is like my 3rd book of Bell Hooks, so I feel like I kind of get how she thinks. Mm-hmm. Though I may disagree with some points. I feel like, again, this whole book is just very optimistic in my opinion.
Yeah, so one thing she said, like, this laughter reminds me that if I dare to challenge patriarchy openly, I risk not being taken seriously. Right?
And that's literally what feminism is. It's like most people don't take it seriously. They just think like, you know, feminism is just man-hating, you know. And again, there are some feminists that are very much male-hating for good reasons. I mean, have you listened to these women talk about
their experiences with men? And, yeah, just in general. I mean,
yeah.
Right.
So like, it's not without reason, right? Your anger is justified. But that's not what all feminism is. You know? Feminism is more than just equality. It's about
intersectionality.
Intersectionality, yeah. And really about putting love back into the grand scheme of things. Because we can claim to be equal or want to be equal all we want. We can claim to, you know, be mutual, beneficial and all that. But what is the point of all of this if at the core of this, there's no love? Hence what books Bell Hooks is talking about.
Yeah.
That's basically her type of feminism, is that like, I just want to bring back love into the midst of feminism.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. So, okay, I'm going to read this other passage, and I feel like she was kind of like, she was hitting the points a little bit, but okay, let's keep going. Citizens in this nation feel challenged in patriarchy, even as they lack overt awareness that they are fearful. So deeply embedded in our collective unconscious are the rules of patriarchy. I often tell audience that if we were to go door to door asking if we would end male violence against women, most people would give their unequivocal support. Then, if we tell them we can only stop male violence against women by ending male domination, by erupting patriarchy, they will begin to hesitate to change their position. Despite the many gains of contemporary feminist movement, greater equality for women in the workforce, more tolerance in the relinquishing of rigid gender roles, patriarchy as a system remains intact. And many people continue to believe that it is needed if humans are to survive as species. This belief feels ironic given that a patriarchal method of organizing nations, especially the instance of violence as a means of social control, has actually led to the slaughter of millions of people on the planet.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this is the perfect way to introduce religion. I felt like this was a perfect segue to include religion that cements patriarchy. Because why is it that you give 2 scenarios? Why is it that you ask people, you go door to door, you ask them, hey,
Dude, those are more
if we should end male violence against women, she said most people will unequivocally agree. Yes, of course we should end, you know,
no violence. Yeah.
More violence, right? But then again, if we told them the only way to stop male violence against women is by ending male domination, people are gonna be
right, male domination as a form of control. That's literally what religion is.
Yeah,
religion is probably one of the biggest forms of control.
Come on.
Like,
so I'm like, but like, so I felt like bell hooks didn't connect the reason why people are hesitant, because if you add spirituality into this, they're gonna feel like they're gonna, you know, people are gonna feel like, well, God is gonna punish me because this is God's way. This is I'm gonna go to hell if men don't dominate. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like,
actually, you're already in hell if male dominate you.
Come on,
you're gonna be in a bottomless pit.
But we'll leave that to the creation of patriarchy now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like,
we'll leave that to the creation of patriarchy. Okay.
Subscribe. Like,
yes, we have so much to say.
Yeah. About that book. Like,
exactly.
I love that book. Anyways.
But yeah, so I felt like you know, she didn't introduce that, and I felt like that was a
question,
a miss.
If she did introduce that, how would you?
It will make sense as to why they're hesitant to. Oh, I don't know.
So what do you think?
What do I think? What
as to why they would be hesitant?
Like, because of the spirituality behind it, right?
Okay. So you're saying that there is somebody that has greater power that has given them power to dominate, and they feel that they are justified spiritually to dominate others.
That's what I'm saying. Because it's not just, you know, the patriarchy teaching people, right? There has to be some element of spirituality. If God says men have to dominate, who am I to
be like to disrupt the order of God?
That's what I'm saying. Who am I? If God says men are the dominant,
God never said that. God never said that.
Yeah, God never said that.
Yeah.
But hey, if it's in the Bible and men quote the Bible every single day, who am I to judge God? God is the Almighty, the All-Being.
Right? They know everything.
That's what I'm saying. That's why women are hesitant. But she didn't introduce that. So I'm like, that girl, like, I get it, but religion has to come in here. Like, but it wasn't. So, and I was actually really upset.
Yeah. I thought that this is what, like, especially for men, because, like, we know now that there's, like, an exodus of, I mean, there's always been, like, an exodus of men in, you know, religious study. If you look at Christianity has, like, one pillar of religion. But now there's also an exodus of women leaving, you know, churches and things like that. They may not necessarily be leaving the religion, but they're definitely leaving the churches.
Yeah.
A lot of churches are vacant. So yeah, I think religion would also it would have been useful for religion to have a chapter in this book, because a lot of men have a lot of religious tendencies and ideology, even without actually practicing the religion. And they're just like religion adjacent.
And here's the thing, though, right? It's not religion in the sense that they themselves love God. Ooh. It's a way to dominate women. So even the religion aspect is it's not like I love God. I want to get
closer to the Lord or whatever.
It's none of that shit.
None of that shit.
No, don't believe it.
Because let's get our facts straight. When have you ever seen a man that was like, oh, I just want to fall in love with God. Like, I just want to just be.
And even if they do, it's fake. It's a facade. Because underneath that, you are owed a woman.
Ooh, you're promised a woman.
You are promised. Like, don't you see incels on the internet all the time, like, complaining about these females and, right?
Yeah.
Because they feel like they are owed a woman.
Yeah.
And once they don't get women, they go on a rampage.
Yeah.
Right? They talk shit. They talk down on women. They say, you know, you 3 or 4s, all that. Because the patriarchy owes them women.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the promises of patriarchy. You know, if you are a good patriarch, I mean, what's a patriarch without a family?
Yeah.
You need to have, you know, the stereotypical heterosexual normative family.
Mm-hmm.
And for the women that are not powerful, that are at the bottom, the longer they stay without having that family, once they do get it, they are rageful. they are angry people, and they release their rage, their anger towards their women and children, because that is a form of dominating the people under them.
Yeah. So another thing that I wanted to point out. So moving along in the chapter, Bell Hooks basically talks about influential feminists and male adjacent feminists that basically talk about, like, male problems as it relates to the patriarchy. So Bell Hooks quoted this feminist called Faludi, and she basically was quoting this woman because at times she agrees, but at times she says, like, she misses the mark on certain things. So yeah, this is page 32. So I'm just gonna read this particular passage. Note that Faludi does not dare risk either the heirs of feminist female by suggesting that men can find salvation in feminist movement, or rejecting by potential male readers who are solely anti-feminist by suggesting that they have some things to gain from engaging feminism. So far in our nation's revolutionary feminist movement is the only struggle for justice that emphasizes the need to end patriarchy. No mass body of women has challenged patriarchy, and neither has any group of men come together to lead the struggle. The crisis facing men is not the crisis of masculinity. It is the crisis of patriarchal masculinity. Until we make the distinction clear, men will continue to fear that any critique of patriarchy represent a threat. Distinguishing political patriarchy, which he had, it's the man, never mind, which he had largely committed to ending sexism, therapist, Terence Real, makes clear that the patriarchy damaging us all is embodied in our psyche. So this is his quote. Psychological patriarchy is a dynamic between these qualities deemed masculine and feminine, in which half of our human traits are exalted while the other half is devalued.
I want to stop right there. I'm sorry. Okay. Actually, not.
No, go ahead.
No, finish the quote.
Okay. Both men and women participate in this tortured value system.
Okay, that's where I want you to stop. No, because every time I get online, I hear, women, you guys have to be feminine, blah, blah, blah. Men need to be in the masculine. Women need to be in the feminine. Men need to be in the masculine. According to Terence Real, okay, who is a therapist, she says that, he says that when you make an emphasis to be strictly feminine and strictly masculine, you are almost severing yourself from one quality of yourself.
Yeah.
It's a form of not only compartmentalization, it's a form of self-harm, because you're not your full whole self. Everybody possesses feminine and masculine qualities. It is okay. But it's almost as if you just have to deny yourself to be fully this half self. But even if you're fully a half self, which is that feminine aspect, you're not full. You're just a full half self.
Yeah.
Do the math. That shit don't make sense. So you want me to just not be masculine. You want me to all be feminine. But I also need to exercise my masculine trait, my masculine qualities, because that's what makes us me. That's exactly as a whole.
As a whole person.
But you want me to deny myself my masculinity so that you can play that role of the masculine. So now I'm in this relationship of just need, where I'm constantly going to you for my masculine energy when I can actually possess that myself. And the flip side, men say that, well, if you're a tad bit feminine, it's you're gay, you're this and that. It's bro, cut the shit.
And I think we kind of use these masculine and feminine
as a... Yeah, go ahead. It's just tiring. Literally.
It's not only that. It's that I think we're using them wrong. I don't think being feminine doesn't mean, it is an attribute, but it's not being feminine is, having patience, right? Understanding, love, compassion, right?
Those are traditional...
No. Those are feminine attributes, right?
Okay.
Now, masculine attributes is what is it? Like being analytical. No, like analytical. Being forthcoming, being strategizing, right? So like I don't even think we're using the term masculine and feminine in a right way. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that is like you wear. It's not a costume you wear on one day and then you take off the other day.
It's the energy that you have. It's who you are, right?
Yeah.
And you can tap into both sides, or you can just be those two at the same time. No, because like when Terrence is like psychological patriarchy, and again, it really has to do with the psyche too. It's a dynamic between those qualities deemed masculine and feminine, in which half of our human traits are exalted while the other half is devalued. How many times have we seen a man who is a tad bit feminine and we call him gay? Like that shit is not right. Like that's just, first of all, that's like homophobic. That's not
okay. But describe how that femininity is portrayed.
I was on TikTok. There was this person that was telling the story about how her friend went on a date with, her friend went on a date with this person, and she goes back to his place, and he has skincare bigger than her, and she was like, "Nah, I can't get with that. Like, you're too feminine for me." I'm like,
okay, that's kind of weird
because the guy has 10-step skincare routine and you don't, so he's out of the question.
That's kind of weird, though.
That's weird as fuck.
That's good, right?
Exactly, but that's the thing. We see skincare. Skincare is traditionally targeted towards women because I guess men don't care about their skin like that. But there is, a surge of men who want to take care of their skin. Rightfully so. That's a good thing.
Nobody wants dry skin.
Some group of women see that as too feminine.
But why do you think that?
Because we've been socialized.
Yes, there you go.
We've been socialized to see these dynamics of feminine and masculine as rigid. Like, if you do this, or you're this. Thing. If you do that, you're that. Yeah. And according to Terrence Real, like, it's not going to help you in the long run. Yeah. Because you're denying somebody to be who they are fully. If they want to do skincare, let them do skincare. If it's 10 steps, okay, then like
10 steps.
It's 10 steps. Like,
and I don't think it's fair to dehumanize that person who is using the skincare or whatever as being less than or
just being feminine. But why is femininity bad? That's what I'm trying to think. Like, why is it that when women call men feminine, that's a bad thing?
And then the flip side, men call women masculine. Yeah. Then it's like, oh my God. I mean, traditionally, black women have been called masculine their whole life. Yeah. Which is actually kind of dangerous to call.
I get that.
See what I'm saying? But like you said, on the flip side too, it's like feminine. Yeah.
I get the social, like the connotation behind that word. But I'm just saying, generally speaking, I guess it has to do with the context of why this person is being called feminine or masculine, which adds the value of like, okay, you're devaluing me or you're lifting me up. Yeah. So I think it's just very contextual.
Yeah. But let's just finish the passage. That was great. Yeah. Psychological patriarchy is a dance of contempt, a preserved form of connection that replaces true intimacy with complex covert layers of dominance and submission, collusion, and manipulation. It is the unacknowledged paradigm of relationship that has suffered Western civilization generation after generation, deforming both sex and destroying the passionate bond between them.
I like that. She said that it's a perverse form of connection that replaces true intimacy that are complex.
That's really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, this notion that you have to deny one part of your attributes, which is masculine and feminine, it's not allowing both male and female to form a true bond of intimacy.
True intimacy with themselves too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. No, this was a great chapter.
We're not done yet.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's what I highlighted for me.
Okay, that's for you?
Yeah, for me.
Okay.
So let's go back to you.
Okay, I want to talk about radicalization. Okay. So if you don't know what radicalization, basically to be radicalized is to be propagandized. Basically, like what would be a modern day propaganda for a male? Oh, that is the trope.
Red pill?
Yeah. The red pill community.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So the red pill community, I would say, is a very controlled group of community that are propagandized and they have been radicalized. So if you don't know what red pill is, it's basically, like in the Matrix, when Neo gave the pill, the blue pill or the red pill, and if you take the red pill, that's basically like you're in like the actual reality of things, like you're waking up or whatever. So they basically used that and coined this movement that is basically a misogynistic, sexist, patriarchal movement.
What is it? It's
bunch of
imperialist.
Andrew Tate.
It's not really imperial. Okay, white supremacist, capitalistic patriarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess in the modern tale would be incels. So incels are basically those who are involuntarily celibate, right? And they really take place in that red pill community where they don't have any game, they have extreme low self-esteem, and all they do is just hate and blame women for their shortcomings. And I want to read, though I guess inceldom or manospheres was not at its height in 2004. Bell Hooks talked about her first give me 1 second. Okay, Bell Hooks talked about her first relationship. So she only had 2 long-term relationships in her lifetime. And it was with both male partners. And she says this: in the early years of our relationship, he was extremely critical of male domination of women and children. Although he did not use the word patriarchy, he understood its meaning and he opposed it. His gentle, quiet manner often led folks to ignore him, counting him among the weak and the powerless. By the age of 30, he began to assume a more macho persona, embracing the dominator model that he had once critiqued. Donning the mantle of patriarch, he gained greater respect and visibility. More women were drawn to him. He was noticed more in the public sphere. His criticism of male domination ceased. And indeed, he began to mouth patriarchal rhetoric, saying the kind of sexist stuff that would have appalled him in the past.
So he was red pilled.
I would say he was red pilled.
He was red pilled.
Yes.
And the funny, not funny thing is that you can't necessarily escape it. You can, but like it's gonna come up in some way, shape, or form. Because before he denied patriarchy.
Yeah.
Although he knew what it was.
He was a critic of it.
Yeah, he was a critic. Until at the age of 30, he began to be acquainted with patriarchy. So it could happen in adolescence, right? You could be raised in one way. If you are influenced by your peers, TikTok, the media, whoever, it's going to show up in one way. And I think that it's good to recognize, to not just only recognize, but to like, okay, why is this showing up here, right now? Like, what is the situation I am in right now that this patriarchy, this red pill ideology is showing up? What am I doing to subconsciously admit myself into talking like or receiving these information? You see what I'm saying? So I think it's funny that she mentioned that, like, before like he recognizes it, but he didn't really acknowledge it. But at the age of 30, he began to have this like macho persona, and he was getting the result that patriarchy.
Yeah,
he was getting the result that patriarchy promised him.
Yeah, no, because that's the thing. Patriarchy is literally the devil. Like, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. Like, it promises you monetary things that don't even last for shit, and you will be so deep in it, and then you wake up and you're like, wait, you promised me so much, but I'm only getting like a little bit. But yeah, I read this and I actually wrote, this is radicalization happening, and I'm like, and I said, so sad that he knew the truth but chose what benefited him. That's what I wrote in my notes, because it's really sad to be enlightened about how this form of system is hurting men, women, and children, and later down in your life you decide to, like, hey, you know what, I'm not gonna do the work anymore. Which is why I think, like, this book is so optimistic of men who are actually doing the work that Bell Hooks set forth for them to do. I have yet to find one. If you are a man and you're watching this video right now, and if you have read this book and you have done what Bell Hooks said, right? I need you to contact us. I would love to talk to you.
Yeah.
I would love to have an interview. Even if you tried it, you did the work, it didn't work, it backfired, I still want to talk to you. If you tried it and it did work, I would still want to talk to you.
Yeah, I think it would be nice to hear, like, the perspective that have read the book and that are, like, optimistic about the changes of patriarchy and that are doing the work. And Bell Hooks did mention those men. They're not just not popular. Like, feminism has taken place, and feminism is like women faces. So men that are feminists, they just don't get the same voice as women do. But yeah,
I will say though, like, men that are feminists don't hold other men accountable. They don't do shit. I think feminist male, are infiltrating the feminist space because they get better access to women. Because why are you a feminist, but you're not holding the male accountable? You're in a locker room, you guys are talking, but it's the same rhetoric shit. You're not holding other men accountable. Your feminism is not centered around male and bettering them and doing what they need to do to elevate them, give them the resources, paving the way for them. But no, you want to be where the women are so you can have greater access to women.
It's the same thing with the conservative men that are trying to day labor women.
It's the same script.
It's the same script, right? Because women are leaving conservatism because they don't want to be pigeonholed by religion and patriarchy, so they want to be more liberal. And liberal women are fun. Like, liberal women are fun.
Yeah.
But the conservatives, they're not fun because you have a religion that says that, oh, you can't do this, that, and the third, right? So where are the women? The women are liberals now. So the men are trying to get liberal women, and they're gonna do whatever it takes. They're gonna lie, and then yeah.
What else?
Any last words for chapter 2? What do you think that Bell Hook missed when it comes to understanding the patriarchy? But yeah, what do you think she missed?
That's a good question. Well, as someone who has read The Creation of Patriarchy by Greta Lerner, coming to a store near you, I would say, I would say that I would say patriarchy was a created ideology. It was not at the beginning. Patriarchy at the beginning was never there. How patriarchy started because of agriculture. So let me see if I can break this down. In the book The Creation of Patriarchy by Greta Lerner, she talked about how during the hunters and gatherers era, there was no form of patriarchy of like dominating and all that. You usually just have like a tribe, like your kinship, right? And women were also hunters. So let's cut the shit about men would go out and hunt and women would stay and feed the kids and all that. That's the inception of patriarchy. No, that is not true. Women were hunters too. It's called small game, okay? Now, when men go out and hunt big games, come back, the woman would hunt small games, and the children's too. So it was a group and a communal effort to provide the resources that will maximize the kingship that they're in, right? But now that we have already maximized our kingship, we have to find a way to expand, right? Mm-hmm. Now, you expand by what? And again, in one communal resources, who are the resource? Who are the resource in a communal? Women. Especially not just women, their wombs. Because their wombs can produce babies. And babies can also be big babies and go and hunt, gather more food so that we can maximize and not be dead and all that, right? They can make tools and all that. But once you maximize all of that, you realize that, okay,
you're capped.
You're kind of capped.
You need to expand.
Exactly. You need to expand.
So how do you expand? You expand by reaching out to other groups, communities,
other tribes, right? So once you expand to other tribes, you make babies. Your wife is here making babies and all that. You need more influx of food. Mm-hmm. How do you do that? Now you have horticulture. Horticulture is basically like gardening and stuff, but agriculture really cements patriarchy, because the way Greta Lerner explained it to me was that, like, when agriculture was first introduced, you need a big plot of land. So that automatically means that you need to acquire land. And if you did not have land within your community, you need to go somewhere else and acquire. You need to go to somebody else that have land. Trade, and they usually trade women. Because again,
women are the first slave.
Yes, women are the first slave. You trade women to acquire land. So once you acquire land, you do whatever you can to grow that land, to maximize all that. Now that you have an influx of food and all that,
crops,
you trade. But fun fact about agriculture is that the writing system came about because of agriculture. So that they could keep a system of what they would have in and what they would make. So I actually did not know that.
Fun fact.
But that's how patriarchy basically came about, is through agriculture.
Yeah.
I will definitely do a more deep dive about it when we are
we're reading
the book. But that's like a cute fun fact.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah. What else?
I think that's it for me for chapter 2. I just wish you would have introduced religion more when chapter 2 is understanding patriarchy. I feel like she didn't introduce religion as how it plays a big role in understanding patriarchy, as to why it's so hard to leave patriarchy behind. Is because you have a religion that cements patriarchy, that says well, hey, there's a God, there's this God that's going to punish you if you don't have the men as the leader of the house. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, I think that's only my critique in chapter 2. But other than that, it was a really great read. I learned about imperialist, white, supremacist, capitalistic patriarchy.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah. Okay. I think, is there anything else?
I kind of want to read my note. I don't know if I.
Yeah.
Okay, so I said it's hard to determine if there's any benefit to patriarchy. The church needs to be held accountable for furthering the system and phenomenon. God is not a man. God is spirit. God does not have a body. Only Jesus has a body. And through Jesus calls the Spirit Father.
Can we pause?
Pause. I want to talk about that.
I want to talk about that too.
Yeah.
So you know how, and this is I'm having a great time, by the way.
Oh, me too.
You know how in the Bible, there's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, or the Holy Ghost, as black people would say. Okay?
Yeah.
I have a different take about that trilogy union.
You mean Trinity?
Trinity, I'm sorry.
Is it trilogy? Not trilogy.
I'm sorry.
Is a book dropping out? Am I missing something? Is there a book dropping?
Trinity Union.
The Trinity.
The
yeah.
Trinity.
Yeah.
I can't believe I said trilogy. Trinity Union. Okay. So you know how so when I think of the father, right? I'm thinking that is a masculine role. I'm thinking that it's a role, not a gender.
A person. Yeah, not a gender.
Not a gender person.
Because
and the son, I guess the son is a gendered person, right?
Yeah, because the son was birthed.
Yeah.
And then
like
an actual the spirit is actually the female aspect of the divine that nobody likes to talk about.
So I have a theory.
Mm-hmm.
What if women can be the father, which is the masculine role?
Yeah, women. Yeah, go ahead.
So, cause you know how on Mother's Day and Father's Day, we celebrate the gender that is associated with the role.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What if Mother's Day can be celebrated by men? Because they're much more nurturing.
It's too they're not gonna do it. I know exactly what you're saying.
Okay, but like
I get exactly what you're saying, but like it's not gonna work because it's too gendered.
That's what I'm saying.
It's too sexed.
It's too sexed.
It's too sexed.
But coming back to the trilogy, right? I don't believe. I mean, I'm sorry. The Trinity.
No, let's just keep it. Let's just keep the Trinity. Trilogy it is. No, trilogy it is.
Coming back to the Trinity, okay? The father is a role, not the gender.
Yes.
The mother is the role, not the gender.
Yeah.
I really have to detach the role from the gender.
Yeah.
Because the role of a father is to protect, provide, hunt, whatever.
But women do all that though.
That's what I'm saying.
So women can be fathers.
As a role.
Yeah. Women are fathers. Because if you look at like single women, single family
household, they are the head of the family.
Yeah. But they exercise those father and mother.
That's what I'm saying.
Their mother and their father.
That's what I'm saying. So when people say God is the father, they are putting the sex.
Yeah.
That's not what that is. That's not it.
No.
It's when people say God is the father, it's the role.
Exactly.
The role of God is protecting his creation.
Yeah.
Not the sex.
And even what you just, I'm going to clock you right now. Even when you say protecting his, also affirms.
Oh my God. I did it again.
That's okay. I do this all the time.
You caught me.
No, for real, because it's hard. It's really hard. It's hard to be like, okay, it's hard to not attribute
the role with the sex.
Because God is sexless. God does not have a sex. God is just consciousness. But we human attribute these human-like things to a God that is above us because we want to understand this God. That's why God is sexed. Or gendered, whatever.
But yeah, but what was your take?
Oh yeah, that's pretty much it.
Really?
About, that's pretty much it. Of God transcends qualities that are like male or female because God is
both male and female and other things.
God is
beyond that. That's what I'm saying. Well, and other things. Those beyond.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
All right.
So that was fun.
That was really fun.
Yeah. But yeah.
Any take on I should ask you this question.
Oh yeah.
Any take on understanding the patriarchy? What did Bell Hooks said about understanding the patriarchy that you did not know before? And haven't read the chapter. I did not know before? Yeah, and haven't read the chapter you now know.
That I did not know before? I guess the part where she is talking about when she's coming up with these terms, right? Like imperialist, white supremacist, capitalistic patriarchy, and patriarchal terrorism and those like huge buzz names or whatever like that, and her trying to contextualize and basically like break down the root of that, and people are just like laughing. I'm like, why are you laughing? It's not funny. But I guess some people are not ready for it. Some people are just not ready for it. But I don't think she said anything new that I don't already know about the patriarchy.
Yeah, because we've done the work.
I feel like I have been like conscious enough and like learning about it and trying to deconstruct that ideology. But yeah, I think overall this chapter was solid. The only thing is again was the religion part. But yeah.
Okay, that's
all right.
it.
Chapter 2. All right. Let us know your comments down below. Let us know if you're reading the book.
Please read the book.
Yes, it's a great book. Very optimistic. Very, very optimistic. So we're gonna come back for chapter 3.
Okay. Bye.
All right.